Frag out. Whoa, holy balls. Not looking forward to pegging in my bivvy. Didn't sound right, did it? Is it possible to say pegging in without that's what she said? Don't think it is. Sure, Chris, it's getting dark. Jeez. Dark, it's getting dark. Oh, no, not that one. I'm a professional, me. Got basher up. Poncho, tarp, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to be sleeping under there tonight, which is kind of disappointing because it's going to be really bad rain. But the reason I'm out is because I've got a Dutch Army hooped bivvy. It's a Gore-Tex, and I wanted to see how waterproof it really is. So I'm going to be sleeping not under the tarp. It's red sky at night, shepherd's delight, but the weather forecast disagrees. Shall I see if I can bring it up? So you can see what time it is maybe. It's just gone 1800. That's what the weather's about to do. So it's raining through straight until about midday tomorrow. We've also got a little bit of wind picking up, about 30-mile-an-hour gusts as of 0800. It's going to feel like temperature of 5 degrees centigrade, so it's going to be chilly. So obviously I'm going to be sleeping in a bloody bivvy that I don't even know if it's waterproof. Well done Chris, good job, well done. Now, just to get something out of the way first, I know that the bivvy, the Dutch Army Gore-Tex bivvy, is not meant to be used just in open air on its own if possible. You're meant to have a tarp over it, or actually in the Dutch military they have, or had, I don't know if they still do, a poncho that went with it. That was part of the sleep system. So you use the poncho over the top of the bivvy bag to keep the worst of the rain off, and then any splash and sideways driving rain and stuff should be kept off with the bivvy bag. I'm an idiot, so I'm just going to try and sleep in the bivvy and see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? Cue to the next shot of me hypothermic, absolutely hanging out at 2 AM. Gonna get the bivvy out, and I'll be pegging in the bivvy as I discussed already. I'm at Candy Corner again today, I haven't been for a while. Wasn't expecting to be out today, to be honest. This was a late night booking last night. I just thought, I saw rain was coming in. I thought, I've got waterproof stuff I want to try out, let's give it a go. I've also got some cool firelighters to try out called, is it UL or UG Ultimate Match? It's like a mini flare. So I'm going to use one tonight. I'm going to leave one out overnight in the rain on some firewood that is also going to be left out in the rain. And then I've got one spare that I'll use if the soggy one doesn't work. The claim is that they work in adverse conditions and you can light them underwater and all sorts of stuff. It doesn't say, to be fair to them, that I can leave them out overnight in the rain and they'll still work, but I'm going to try it and see what happens. So yeah, I'm going to try those out. So no fun flint and steel today, it's going to be fun pyrotechnics. So getting the fire going tonight, if they work, will be nice and easy. Yeah, exactly. They're shagging. Got a light. By God, he's gone and done it. It's going to be pegging in the tarp and pegging in the basher bivvy. Everywhere I go there is pegging. Might we be able to make this work? Please, sir? It's a shelter. I can do bushcraft, me. If in doubt, bungee out. That's what I always say. Since just a minute ago when I thought of it. Always said it for my entire life since then, just a few minutes ago. I'm going to put the bivvy bag right next to this. First of all, so I can reach out and operate the camera if I need to. And also so that if it gets soaked through and I'm dying in the night, I can get into the shelter quickly. I'm sorry, you're all skew whiff, I do apologise. Two things. First of all, if you're only going to be carrying a bivvy, it's an emergency option really. Really you should be carrying a tarp. What you don't want to be doing is getting in it when it's pissing it down, because then the inside of your bed's already wet when you get into bed. What you also don't want to be doing is in the morning, if it's pissing it down, getting out of it, and again, water getting in there and making everything soaking wet. Problem being, of course, if you're out for more than one night, then you've got a wet bed to get into the following night as well. So I know what I'm doing isn't the way you're supposed to use it, but I'm doing it in the name of science for you guys. And because I'm weird. My wife thinks I've lost the plot. Oh, it's going to rain tomorrow night, so I'm going to go out and try this bivvy. And she just looks at me like I've fallen out of a tree. Bless her, she puts up with me. Patience of a saint. This bag is redonkulously big. It is a Savotta Kantamus 70 litre and it's huge. I don't know if I like it yet because I've only used it for like today. So it's way too early to know, but it's huge. Aha! Here we are. Aha! Right. So lesson one is you should try pegging in your bivvy before you smash the hoop in. I'm sorry anyone in the Dutch army watching this. I just don't know what I'm doing. This is more pegging than I anticipated. I can speak English. 6 pegs. Do you think I am made of pegs? Pegging in my bivvy has made me sweat. You know when Les Stroud says, you sweat, you die? Well, I'm very dead. Thermarest Neoair Xtherm NXT Max, which is the Mahusid one, fits in there. You probably saw me sexily wearing suspenders the other day. The reason is, this belt is elastic and it just means my trousers fall down. This is the Neo Moonlight, just in case anyone cares. Can't see it because I don't know how to do lighting because I'm an amateur. Are these going to fit? Probably not. Nah, mate. Cool. Chair. Yes. I've got a backup plan for the bivvy, which is I bought my Snugpak Special Forces bivvy bag as well. So I'm actually going to put my sleeping bag in that bivvy bag, which I know to be waterproof. in the bigger bivvy bag, it's going to be Bivvyception. Because I'm not trying to get hypothermia. What I want to do is I want to see if the bivvy bag, the Dutch Army one, is waterproof. And I can do that whilst keeping my sleeping bag dry in another bivvy bag. Yes. So these ultimate matches I was telling you about, they're made by EG. Ultimate match. Can you see that? Ultimate match. Don't put your thumb over it. Roger. Instant fire in the most extreme conditions. Ignite, combust, survive. So it looks like a little smoke grenade almost. Little flare thing. With a little pin at the end that you pull. And then fire happens. I'm going to leave one out overnight on the pile of kindling that I'm going to use for fire starting in the morning. So this one will get soggy. And then I'm saving one in the box for if this one doesn't work due to being soggy. And then we're going to use one now to see what it does in laboratory conditions. So yeah, I'm not even going to chop wood. I've got a little bit of kindling and I've got some logs. And I'm just going to see if that lights them without having to chop anything up. I've got my axe if I need it, but these are survival matches, aren't they? So, I don't know, I'll give it a go. I will pile some wood up and then we'll see what this does. Cute picture of a immolating monk. Frag out. Whoa, holy shit balls. I should do it. I think it's fair to say that worked. That is indeed a fire. Well, that's a thumbs up. That was fun and effective. Definitely not just childish. It was another scientific test. Lab conditions, it's completely dry, there's no heavy wind. It's on dry wood. It's quite a spirited chemical reaction, wasn't it? Happy days. So we'll see what the rain one does tomorrow morning. Because I'm expecting to get soggy and be miserable in a bivvy bag, I thought, what better meal to have than a British Army ration? Just nostalgia calling. The good news is that I don't need to worry about light discipline, which is good, because I've got a massive light burning my corneas out, and I've got a big fire to keep me warm over here. Yeah, that Savotta bag is huge. The on paper volume of it is 70 litres, but if you roll the top up, I think it goes up to about 100 litres. It's absolutely massive. And I've got two 6-litre pouches on it, one on each side. I tried the 12-litre pouches and they were just ridiculous. Don't go for 12 litres. 6 litres I think is perfect. 4 would be fine as well. And then I've got a little general purpose pouch which has got my med kit in on the outside, because I like to have my med kit accessible. Got chili con carne. And I have long grain white rice. Man, that is easier than a ferrocerium rod, isn't it? Why didn't Ray Mayers just use those? So this is fun, isn't it? I haven't been out camping for ages. Don't know when the last time was. When did you last see me camp? Like June or something. Trusty mug with aerial. This bit is the satellites for the aliens. This is the water for drowning the aliens, and this is my cup for drinking the aliens. My rice inflated a bit. I hope that's not a bad sign. Steve 1989 from MRE Info, please tell me if I'm about to have horrible, horrible time on the toilet. I think what I'm going to do is just pour the rice into this. That was the most overkill use of a bushcraft knife. Any knife's a bushcraft knife if you do bushcraft with it. Fact, you don't need to spend stupid money. Get a Mora Companion heavy duty and you have one of the best bushcraft knives you can get already. And they're like 12 quid. In Freedom units that's 18 washing machines or about $18. This is the stuff you get in British rations now, sambal. Used to get little miniature bottles of Tabasco. And I always quite like the green Tabasco you used to get. So this is what my chili con carne looks like now. Can you see? Looks alright, doesn't it? Actually no, I need to mix that chilli in first. I think I was about to eat all of it in one spoon. I think my arse would dislike me for that. Yeah, alright. Lots of kidney beans. I don't really like kidney beans that much. If I make a chilli at home I tend to just leave them out. What would I give it as a score so far? Out of 10? The rice smells a bit funny. It smells almost plasticky or something. But you can't taste it once it's in the chilli. It's got kidney beans in, but it's supposed to. I'm unusual for not liking kidney beans, I think. Chilli sauce has given it just enough heat. So I'm going to include the chilli sauce in the rating. And I reckon 6.5, which is pretty good. It's above average. It's not as good as the beef burrito bowl or the Indonesian rice, pork rice or whatever it is, which I think is, you know, probably the best one. So what's your favourite ration pack? If you've had any, what's your favourite one? From any country? I'll be keen to know. And also, if there's a ration you want me to try, let me know and I'll see if I can get hold of it. As long as it's not like £100 for it. I'm not sure I'm looking forward to a night in a bivvy. I think a bivvy, like an open bivvy, under a tarp, I quite like. But you don't really need a bivvy under a tarp, to be honest. Unless it's absolutely caning it down and it's windy as all hell. You're generally okay just with a sleeping bag, sleeping mat, and then get your basher up. Okay, well I'm going to finish this. I need to put a new battery in the camera as well because I've been chatting shit for 500 years. So you will next see me when I turn the camera back on. Woo! I think all that pegging earlier just sent me mad. I saw an owl a minute ago. Heard some rustling and beamed my head torch over there and there was just an owl struggling to get through some branches. I think a tawny owl. Beautiful creatures. And another thing. It's the best thing about a pipe. You can say, you listen up, sonny. I think it's really important that people know that you can do this you can do bushcraft and you can do camping without spending a fortune. Army surplus or places like Go Outdoors, like you can get some of the OEX stuff will function fine. You don't need to spend thousands of pounds or even hundreds and hundreds. You can probably get a wild camping setup for a couple of £100, including a tent and a bag, and those are your two major expenses. And a sleeping bag, actually, that's another expensive one, but yeah, probably 200, 250 quid. And I know that's not a small amount of money, but if you accumulate it, or you can look on Marketplace or somewhere like that, Free Cycle, people get rid of stuff dirt cheap or free sometimes, and it'll work. So don't let the price keep you at home. If you're thinking you have to spend thousands, you don't. I also don't really want to talk about or review equipment that I haven't used properly for a while. I kind of always raise my eyebrow a little bit at people who get an item and immediately review it. I don't see how you can honestly review it if you haven't used it properly. Because, like, yeah, you might get it out of the bag and fill it up, and it's like, you know, with a bag, and it's great, it feels comfy, and that's good. But tell me how comfy it is after you've walked 12 miles with it in the rain, and you've used it for a year, and you've bashed it around and battered it around, and that's why I think it's really important to use the equipment that you have and learn about it, and then give an opinion if you've got one. Something I'm already thinking about, those ultimate matches. So the one I used, you saw me use, that certainly took off, didn't it? It's a feisty bugger. But something that I've kind of got at the back of my mind as a point to note is, I think if you're using it in an emergency situation and you're cold, potentially getting hypothermic or pre-hypothermic, and you're wet and you're tired, you saw the reaction when I pulled the pin. You need to make sure that you're not going to set fire to yourself or injure yourself. And I'm already thinking about if there's a way of marking it or something I can add to it to make it really obvious which end is the business end. Because as somebody who's not tired and who's using it in ideal scenario, in an ideal situation, it was fine, because I could look at it and my brain was working and thinking, oh, which end is this? Okay. But when you're cold and when you're tired, your brain doesn't work like that. And even stuff that seems really stupid, you can easily mess it up. So I'm wondering if there's a way of making that more idiot proof. And I say that as somebody who can be that idiot if I'm cold and tired. That big bald head. It's good for a camera at night, isn't it? Because the light shines off it like a big dome. Right, let's show you what the word elegance means. First time in this. I've not even done it yet now. Wouldn't do this if you're claustrophobic. just no room. Because I'm on a fairly thick sleeping mat. And I've got broad shoulders anyway, like my shoulders are the tightest. Everything else is actually alright, it's just the shoulders feel a bit restricted, but could be worse. Filming options are limited. Got the light on my phone and the GoPro about 6 inches away from my face. So, lucky you. You might be able to tell from the fact that my head is not covered that I am under the tarp. There are two reasons for that. Reason number one is the Bivvie's not super waterproof. It was getting damp. Reason number two is that there's just not enough space to really sleep comfortably with the inflatable mat. Maybe with a closed cell foam mat or one of the thin self-inflating ones, you might be okay. But my shoulders were just, like, I'm a side sleeper and I couldn't lay on my side properly because my shoulders were too wide for it. And I know that I'm a bit of a porker as well, but not that much of a porker. And it was my shoulders where the issue was, and that's not really where that is a problem. I'm also far less of a porker than I was 6 months ago, so I'm dread to think what it would have been like then. My verdict is, don't use the hooped bivvy without a tarp, and also don't use the hooped bivvy with an inflatable mat if you have shoulders that are remotely broad and you sleep on your side. To be honest, sleeping on my back, my nose was like right up against the bivvy as well, so yeah, I really didn't get much sleep. So far I'm not sure I'm sold. For me personally, for some people I'm sure it works great. For me though, I don't see what the point is over just bringing a normal bivvy back and a tarp. If the weather's cool anyway, because when the weather's warm, mosquitoes would be a pain in the ass. Then you'd be getting your head bitten and all sorts. Maybe keeps out ticks, potentially, if you're sleeping in grass. But for in the woods, in this sort of weather, I think the tarp's where it's at. Having a bivvy bag of some kind is good for keeping the wind off. Sleeping just in a sleeping bag on a sleeping mat under a tarp, when it's cold and windy, the wind does take away some of your warmth. So having that windproof layer is useful. It's been raining all night as forecast. It's not super heavy at the moment, but it's been constant with heavier spells. So it's going to be interesting to see if that ultimate match works. The one that I left out in the rain all night. Assuming a badger hasn't wandered off with it and set fire to his den. It's not a den, is it? It's a set. Badger set. Who knew they liked tennis? Right, I am quite cold and it is soggy here, so this is a good step up from the last test. Let's see what happens. seems to work. Oh, she's a feisty one. We're out. But not hugely unexpected. I don't think it claims that it will start a fire. Like, I don't think the company claims it will start a fire if you leave it out in the rain all night. Should we try a dry one? Now, has that actually started a fire? I'm going to have to leave it a few minutes. We're out. We're out, boys and girls. Okay, so soggy wood is a no-go, I guess. So that will have been the second part of the first ultimate match I used this morning. You could tell that it didn't burn for very long the first time, so I was kind of expecting it to catch up once it had dried out. But we have a fire going with the old trusty method. If I'd used dry wood, those two would have worked. But if you're in a situation where you're wet and cold, it's not usually the case that you can find dry wood. I think you need to keep the thing dry as well. Like, I wouldn't leave it out overnight. You can get a little container, waterproof container for it, I think they sell, or they say they're going to. Like a little screw top plastic tube for it. So that would keep it dry. But you do need to source some wood that is kind of dry. The thing is, like, if that had been wood just off the forest floor, it would have been a lot, probably worse, because the wood I'm using was dried firewood kindling. so it had been dried before it was left out overnight in the rain. Whereas wood that's just on the floor is going to have been soaking for ages, isn't it? Another thing would be to be more careful to construct your fire. So I didn't really carefully construct a kindling bundle and all that sort of stuff, tinder bundle and everything. But that was kind of deliberate. Because again, if you're hypothermic or you're getting there, would you have the presence of mind or the energy or the ability to create a nice set of matchstick sized wood? And I don't know, am I being unfair? Let me know if you think I am. So we've given 2 new things a go, new for me anyway. Dutch Army Bivvy, what's my verdict? I'm not sure I'm keen to rush out and use it again. As I said, the waterproof issue isn't the worst issue because you can just use a tarp, and you're supposed to use a tarp. You're supposed to use the Dutch Army poncho with it to keep the worst of the rain off, to stop the rain pooling. So that is kind of expected, so I'm not going to mark it down for that, but the shoulder space for me was just non-existent. Like if you're a side sleeper and you've got broad shoulders, it's not the best. I think I'd prefer to use a normal bivvy bag. If there was... Thing is, if you get much of a bigger bivvy, you might as well have a tent. So what I'd probably prefer to do is, you know, you can just get those sort of like mosquito net tents, which hasn't got an outer, it's just got the inner net. Just a small one of those with a tarp over it. Probably wouldn't take up any more space, maybe even less, and you wouldn't have the shoulder issue. So I think that's what I'd do. I'd do that, or I'd use a bivvy bag and a tarp. I don't think I'd use a fully enclosed hooped bivvy. Again, I'm 6'3", I'm broad shouldered. Your mileage may vary. Ultimate match. I used 3 of them. So the first one I used in laboratory conditions pretty much, which was just dry wood, no rain, no wind. It worked fine. Every single one of them did ignite. All 3 of them ignited. So that's a positive. The one that I left out in the rain overnight only burned halfway, and it didn't ignite wet wood. I don't believe that UG, I forgot the name of the company, I'll put it on screen. I don't believe that the company says that it will work if you leave it out and wet all night. So I don't want you to think that they're lying or anything there. But then the dry one I used with damp wood or wet wood this morning also didn't work. The flare went, it ignited and it burned all the way through, but it didn't get the wood going. Now I didn't make tiny wood. The thing is that if you're using one of those for what it says it's used for, which is an emergency survival flare, the conditions aren't ever going to be perfect. You're not going to have all the kindling chopped up into tiny little pieces. You're not going to have matchstick sized bits of wood. You're not going to have dry tinder. The wood's probably not going to be dry, especially in the UK or if you're in a tropical climate or anything like that. You're not going to have dry wood in a lot of survival situations. I think I'd probably prefer to use a fire lighter and a lighter, because it burns for longer and therefore gives the wood more time to dry out before it fully combusts and ignites. Those are my current thoughts. I've got some more, so I'll use some more at some point. Give them a more thorough test, but that's my initial thoughts anyway. I hope it's been semi-enjoyable or informative. I really appreciate you watching, as always. Hopefully more camping videos coming out soon, maybe even slightly more comfortable than the hooped bivvy, which would be good for my sake, probably not as entertaining for you, but thanks ever so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.